Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, ask and answer a question, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! This week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is Endometriosis Awareness Month. I'll talk more about that later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode, I asked true or false, Bishop was the first black male member of the X-Men. Well, the correct answer is false. 3 years before Bishop made his debut, in the pages of Uncanny X-Men number 229, Gateway debuted, making him the first black member of the X-Men, despite being unofficial in terms of the membership of the X-Men. And now, even though he was unofficial, the X-Men still used him on occasion. Now, his mutant powers are teleportation and telepathy, and even now he's still being used. And just like Bishop, he is from Australia also. Well, the correct answer is false, and 7 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, your name's been entered in a drawing for a free tee, and that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Savin Blackshear from Winfield, Louisiana. So congratulations, Savin. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Superman question. Which character who briefly took on the mantle of Superman in the Reign of the Supermen story arc in 1993 was the only one to have his own movie in 1997? Alright, here are the hints. The first hint is that this character made his first appearance in the Adventures of Superman number 500 in 1993 and was created by Louise Simonson and John Bogdanove. The second hint, aspect of the character are inspired by the black American folk hero John Henry. The third hint, the character's code name is an alloy that's made up of the elements iron and carbon, and it has an atomic number of 24 and an atomic weight of 51,996. Alright, the fourth hint, Wole Parks currently plays this character on Superman and Lois. Oh, and by the way, new season starts next week on the CW. And then the fifth and final hint, this is a dead giveaway, especially if you've seen the movie. Shaquille O'Neal played the main character in this movie. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in, questions I didn't reply in, questions I will survive in, questions.
I only have one question for this week, and it's from Ashley Fraser May from Monroe, Louisiana. She asks, how do you store your comics? Well, Ashley, that's a very good question. Now, I'll tell you how I store them in terms of where I place them. But before that, I'm going to answer the question in terms of keeping up with them. Now, when I first started collecting comics, I used to have a checklist of them. And over time, I got away from it because it became too tedious. Then I went to an antique store in downtown Minden, and the woman who ran the place, she asked me, did I have an inventory of them, or do I have a checklist? And I told her that I used to, but I stopped doing it because it was too tedious. Then she said, well, it may be too tedious, but it's also a sign of professionalism. So ever since she told me that, I decided to go back to doing that, and I've been doing that for just over 20 years. And then also I have a spreadsheet of my entire collection. Now this came about after I learned how to make spreadsheets in a CIS class at Bossier Parish Community College 15 years ago. So that's how I keep up with them. But in terms of storing them physically, it all depends on the category of a book. Now, with a lot of comics, you have monthly books. Those are books that come out at least once a month, and sometimes twice a month. And then you also have miniseries, which only last maybe about 6 to even 12 issues. And then there are also there are one shots. Those are individual books that don't continue on. And then there are annuals, which come out once a year. And then there are discontinued books. Now these are books that were once monthlies but are currently out of print. And with all the one-shots, monthlies, and miniseries, and annuals, they're all in file cabinets. Now all discontinued books are either in bookshelves or in long boxes. But right now I'm in the process of buying more long boxes so I can have all the discontinued books inside long boxes. All right, really love that question. I love all these questions that y'all are asking me. Earlier, I asked some of y'all on social media to send some questions for the Any Questions segment because I didn't have any, and now I have some for about the next 3 or 4 episodes. But if you're watching this, keep them coming. I really love this. Now the questions can either relate to the show, or they can either relate to me in terms of reading and collecting comics. But yes, keep them coming. All right, now it's time for Conflict Speaking. So without further ado, let's talk comics! Alright, there's only one thing I'm going to talk about in this segment of Conflict Speaking, and that's the news of a brand new Avengers series coming in May by Marvel. It's going to be written by Jed MacKay with art by C.F. Vila. And the members of these Avengers are going to be Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Thor, the Sam Wilson Captain America, Black Panther, the Scarlet Witch, and the Vision. And it has now, deductive reasoning tells me this is going to spin out of the events of Avengers Assemble, which is scheduled to end next month. And I'm still reading the crossover. It's a crossover between the Avengers, well, the current volume of the Avengers rather, and Avengers Assemble. And let me tell you, it's a multiversal phenomenon. If you read comics and you're sleeping on this, you better wake up, because it's definitely worth the read. Jason Aaron saved his best work for this crossover. He's writing both books, and let me tell you, really loving it. And I'm really anticipating this lineup. And there hasn't really been said, now that's what deductive reasoning tells me. But in the first issue, they go of the new volume, which is in May, they go up against the classic Marvel villain Terminus and a brand new Marvel villain that no one has ever seen before. And let me tell you, I'm all in on this book. So, Avengers #1, May, coming in May by Marvel. I'm reading, I'm collecting. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Action Comics number 1052. Batman vs. Robin number 5. Captain America Sentinel of Liberty number 10. Detective Comics number 1069. I Am Iron Man number 1. Lazarus Planet Omega. Radiant Black number 22. Uh-oh. Spider-Man number 6. Tim Drake Robin number 6. Venom number 17. And finally, X-Force number 38. Alright, that's 11, which brings the total number of comics I've bought since December of 1997 to 11,918. Alright, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. And here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Which character who briefly took on the mantle of Superman in the reign of the Superman story arc in 1993 was the only one to have his own movie in 1997? Now, here are the hints again. The first hint is that this character made his first appearance in The Adventures of Superman number 500 in 1993 and was created by Louise Simonson and John Bogdanove. The second hint, aspects of the character are inspired by the Black American folk hero John Henry. Oh, and by the way, if this helps, the character's real name is Dr. John Henry Irons. Alright, now, the character's code name is an alloy that's made up of the elements iron and carbon. And it also has an atomic number of 24 and an atomic weight of 51,996. The fourth hint, Wole Parks currently plays this character on Superman and Lois. And the fifth hint, and this is a dead giveaway if you've seen the movie, Shaquille O'Neal played the main character in this movie. And also, this is a sixth hint, I just thought about this. Phil Lamar played the voice of this character on Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Saving Blackshear from Winfield, Louisiana, who won a free tee on this episode. Alright, now this month is Endometriosis Awareness Month. Now, endometriosis is a disorder in which tissue that normally lines the uterus grows outside of it. Now, with endometriosis, the tissue can either be found on the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, or the intestines. Now, some symptoms include painful periods, pain with intercourse, pain with bowel movements or urination, excessive bleeding, and infertility. Now, 200,000 women per year are diagnosed with endometriosis, which makes this condition common. And I personally know some women that have endometriosis, and I can only imagine how difficult life is for them on a daily basis. I mean, pain enough is heartbreaking, but another thing that's even more heartbreaking is the fact that it's infertility. Because I believe just about every woman deserves to carry children and to give birth. And it's beyond heartbreaking to even think about. But one day there's going to be a cure for just about all kinds of diseases, and also along with endometriosis. And this is an endometriosis awareness comic hero tee. And inside a speech bubble, you can't really see it, but there's some boxing gloves, and that's my encouragement of every woman living with endometriosis to fight. And right here on the left sleeve is a ribbon and the words Endometriosis Awareness Month. And right here, this is one of the universal symbols of women. And if you would like one of your very own, you can find them on my website, IamTheComicHero.com, for $17. Now, the count is I'm up to 11,918, which means I'm now even closer than I was before. Now I'm 82 away from 12,000. And that graphic you saw at the beginning, that's what I was talking about at the end of last week's episode. And this is going to be at the end of every intro until I reach the milestone. And Yeah. Oh, and also with this, I kind of goofed. I'd forgotten about all the causes that are in the month of March. Endometriosis being one of them, but then there are also other causes. There's colon cancer, there's brain injury, there's cerebral palsy, kidney cancer, MS. I mean, there's a lot of them. So, with that being said, in the next few episodes of the show, the remaining shows in March, there will be mystery pop-up segments where I get to raise awareness of other causes. Because one thing about me, I'm not just a comic hero for some. I'm a comic hero for anyone who will accept me. All right, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Noli. I'm a comic hero. I'll see you next week for episode 437. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.